Hello, welcome to netvn. In this video I show how to install Proxmox hypervisor and install macOS 13 on it. This is a computer running Windows 11. I'll make it a Proxmox hypervisor server. First you go to the Proxmox homepage and download the installer. Next you use a software to create a bootable installer. In this case I use the software Rufus. To create a bootable installer you need a USB drive of at least 4 GB in size. I use an 8 GB USB drive. You open Rufus software, browse to the file you just downloaded in the previous step. Rufus erases the data on the USB drive and creates a bootable Proxmox installer. After I got the desired USB stick, I restarted the computer and went to UEFI BIOS. The purpose is to set the boot order on the computer. You set up the computer to boot from the newly created USB drive. And here are the steps to install Proxmox. You choose the hard drive to install Proxmox. Next you set the country, time zone and keyboard. You are then asked to create a new admin password for the virtualization server. Next, you set up a static IP address for the Proxmox server. After completing the steps, the installation process begins. It will take a few minutes to complete. This is the IP address and port of the Proxmox server. From another computer in the same local network you use the IP address and port 8006 to remotely access the virtualized server. Username is root. You use the setup in the Proxmox installation step to log into the virtualization server. I have completed the tutorial on how to install Proxmox on the computer. Next I introduce how to install macOS Ventura on Proxmox. To install macOS Ventura you download this operating system installer. I put the link in the description. So that you don't have to wait long, I have downloaded the macOS installer to this computer. This file has the extension ISO and is about 15 GB in size. You upload this file to the Proxmox server. ISO images. This is where Proxmox server ISO files are stored. You browse to the macOS 13 installer ISO file and upload it to Proxmox. To boot and install macOS 13 you need one more file. So you use Google and search for a tool called KVM Open Core. You use the latest version of this tool. This file also has the extension ISO but it is being compressed. So after downloading you use WinRAR or 7-zip to extract it. to use this tool, you upload it to Proxmox. Successfully uploaded macOS 13 installer and bootloader. Next, you create a new virtual machine. You name the virtual machine as you like. The identifier of this virtual machine is 100. It will be used in the next step. Here you select the file with the bootloader, which is the tool called OpenCore. Graphics card VMware compatible. Machine, Q35. BIOS OVMFU EFI. EFI storage. Uncheck pre-enroll keys. SCSI controller, VirtIOS CSI. Above are the settings suitable for the macOS virtual machine. You set the hard drive as VirtIO block. Next, you set the hard drive capacity. Cache, white back unsafe. You set the number of processors for this virtual machine. The processor model is the same as that of the Proxmox virtualization server. The minimum memory of this virtual machine is 4 GB. Next, you set up the network controller for the virtual machine. Model VMware VMX Net3. The virtual machine has been completed and created. And here is the hardware information of the newly created virtual machine. You add the macOS 13 installer, so you add a new CD/DVD drive. Here you add the file with the ISO extension of the macOS installer. Just like on a physical computer, you set the boot order on a virtual machine. You set up this virtual machine to boot from a bootloader called OpenCore. There are a few things to customize before installing macOS. You open the command window of the Proxmox hypervisor. You use a text editor called Nano to open the configuration file of the newly created virtual machine. Each virtual machine on Proxmox is identified differently. You use this identifier to open the configuration file. These are the parameters for the macOS virtual machine on Proxmox. Depending on whether your Proxmox server uses Intel or AMD processors, you use different code. My Proxmox server uses an Intel processor. You copy and paste the code at the top of the virtual machine's configuration file. Next, you find and replace the code media equal DROM with the code cache equal unsafe. You replace in both lines with the code media equal DROM. With quite a bit of preparation, now you start the macOS virtual machine. As mentioned in the previous section, this virtual machine boots from the bootloader and you will access a command prompt. fs02. You use the following command. System library core services boot.dfi. Now the new macOS boot screen appears for you to start the installation. Just like on a physical computer, you open Disk Utility. Here you format the hard drive before installation. You name the hard drive and format it. Next, you close Disk Utility and start installing macOS 13. You select the hard drive that has just been formatted to install the operating system. It will take about 20 to 30 minutes to complete the installation. So that you don't have to wait long, I will skip the installation step and go to the first boot step after completing the installation. Similar to a physical computer, the first time you start up the macOS 13 you will be asked to create a new administrative account and some other settings such as location, time zone. And this is the end after about 2 hours. Thank you for watching. Don't forget to like and help me 600,000 subscribers. As you know, to start the macOS 13 virtual machine there is a bootloader called OpenCore. As you know, to start the macOS 13 virtual machine there is a bootloader called OpenCore. To not depend on this bootloader you will copy it to the hard drive of the macOS virtual machine. You find and download a tool called OpenCore Configure. This tool will help you mount the boot partitions. You can use other tools like Mount EFI or Clover to do this. Here are the two bootable partitions once mounted. You copy the folder named EFI from the OpenCore bootloader to the partition named EFI of the hard drive of the macOS virtual machine. You then unmount the macOS boot partitions. Next, you customize the hardware of this virtual machine. You remove the CD/DVD drive with the bootloader named OpenCore from this macOS virtual machine. Now macOS 13 virtual machine boots without bootloader named OpenCore. Thank you for watching this far. Good luck.